Thank you so much, Maimba. Ndirimo mutoptu. I also asked kuti ndianaka vote apa because I took the accolade with thanks when it came, but ndakabvunza the question. So thank you so much for having me, Sekai. I consider myself to be on maternity leave, and so she's pulled me out of maternity leave because this company that I'm here to talk about, Grobby Best Foods, it's been operational for just under 14 months, so it's a baby. And I deliberately took the step to say that I'm stepping down from any board that I sit on, anything that I do. I want to focus on my baby, and I want to make sure that my baby will get past 3 years, and then it'll, run, and then I can go back and help other people. But for now, I'm about this baby. So I want to, Tino came with his branding. I want to come with my product. So there must be a gentleman outside by the name of Livingston Dewa. Can you just allow him to come in? I just want him to share a little bit of my product as I'm starting up. So my name is Nancy Guzha, like Maimba said. I'll just talk a little bit about myself as my team distributes my product. And I will comment a little bit about maybe what other speakers today have said before me. It's only my first day here. I wasn't able to do the other 2 days. Like I said, I'm on maternity leave. So what you quickly learn about entrepreneurship when it's a new baby is that you are needed a lot of the time. It's like when you're on maternity leave, if your baby has to be breastfed, it's the mother that has to be there. So in this organization, sometimes there are suppliers that need to be spoken to. There are bankers that you need to actually have a big conversation with, and it's just you that needs to answer that call or make that call. So I've been there. So I have not been a typical entrepreneur. So I don't want you to look at this presentation and then say to yourselves that this is a typical story. In fact, I started my career in big corporate. That's really what I've known for the last 25 plus years. I went to school, I graduated, and then I just started as a management trainee in Unilever. I worked my way up, and eventually I got into general management. I did what I did. I think I performed well. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then I moved on to Cairns and Lobels and the Takura Group. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then between Unilever and Takura, I'd been into InScore and in and out of InScore for a few years. So I've always worked in big corporate, and I think I really understand big corporate. But there comes a time when you ask yourself a few questions, because once you have got a title that calls you general manager, or CEO or MD, whatever the title is, you are the face of that organization. You are the person that takes the strategy of that organization to the people. And you start to ask certain questions at a certain point in time. But the shareholder is the person that finally has the deciding vote. As we've heard, right? And it's not you. But you also cannot go out and say, I disagree with the shareholder. You really have to own what the shareholder has to say. So I had looked at Zimbabwe because my career, a lot of it was spent in Zimbabwe, but I also spent a long time in South Africa, and I looked after Kenya, Ghana, et cetera, et cetera. So numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Numbers will tell you everything you need to know. Anybody can tell you any story, but a number is a number is a number. And so when I was sitting, wherever I was sitting, in Durban or wherever, I would always look, and as a Zimbabwean, I would feel some type of way. Because in particular, when I was managing South Africa is a giant, so you can remove it, and you can say, put South Africa there. But then you'd always look at Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, etc. Even to a certain extent, East Africa and West Africa. Zimbabwe would be punching above its weight. Well above its weight. Always, the numbers would tell you, we're looking at volume, we're looking at revenue, we're looking at profit. Here is Zimbabwe, it's punching above its weight. Let's talk about investment, or let's talk about focus. There's always that issue that other people are going to talk about, be it country risk, be it the politics of the country, but you are making money from that place. And then as a Zimbabwean, you have to start asking yourself questions around, do I agree with this? What do I think? And you can't always be that vote, going rah, 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 invest in my country or whatever. So you'd look at indicators. Zimbabwe was punching above its weight. So I made a very deliberate decision for personal reasons. I said, I'm going home. I am going to work in Zimbabwe, and I'm going to make sure that what we do is we invest in what I believe in. Because we also don't want the story of Kuti, everybody's baby has to get on a plane and leave the country the moment they turn 18. And then we say to them, graduate or because there's nothing. Because this is home and there's something to be said. It should be an option. The world is global, but it should be an option to say, I want to be in South Africa or the UK or Germany, wherever. Right now, we're not giving our kids that option if we don't invest where we are. So I came here, and what you would find is that you are in the patient capital. It also is not there if you are in Zimbabwe. Every banker will talk to you and say, we can do this, we can do this. When you then come to the table, or investors, they will talk to you about, we can do this for 6 months, or we can do this for 9 months, or for a year, 2 years. And I heard people talking about 7%, 9%. It's not. It's 15%, it's 18%. It's a lot, right? And then you look and you think, I actually cannot do this. So I was here, I was working, and I wasn't quite sure that I agreed with what was being done, even in terms now of living in Zimbabwe and managing going forward. So I made a decision to say, I have a little bit of money. I know people who've got money. I've got family that's got money. Let me do my own little fundraising. And that's what I did. I said, okay, I'm wanting to do X, Y, Z. What do you think? Do you believe in me? Da, 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 da. Nobody believes in anyone that doesn't have some skin in the game. So what I had to do was to say, hey, I like my life. I quite like this property I have in Borodale, but I will sell it, and that will be the first thing that I'll do. And then you find that once you've got a bit of skin in the game, other people came to the party, and they supported me. And that's the journey that I've then walked. 2019, I left my last employer, which was Takura Capital, and I said, I'm going to start this thing. I thought it would take me 2 years. It's taken me 5 years before I even made a single dollar. So when I talk about patient capital, that's really what you have to understand. And the people that invested in me have had to be patient and wait while I'm telling them, I promise you we're getting closer to revenue, closer to revenue, closer to revenue. And eventually we arrived at revenue last year. We are now, just now I think by December, talking about where I will be able to put a little bit of money back in people's pockets, not a lot. But within about 3 to 5 years, hopefully I'll be able to put a lot of money in people's pockets. I think my team, are my team lost or where are they? Anyway, it's fine. I'm sure they'll come at some point in time. So I'm going to walk you through. There are very few numbers. I don't even think there's a single number here. Even though I said numbers don't lie, we work for numbers because we want to make money, we want to make a profit. But what Sekai asked me to talk about was the journey from C-suite into entrepreneurship. And I want to talk about my lessons. So a picture will always tell you 1,000 words. So I had reflections as I was putting this presentation together. So I'll take you through my journey. It's not a long one, so hopefully we will be able to then have a conversation at the end of it. So this is who we are. When I talk about scale, what you're looking at, this is the factory that opened up in the last 5 years. It's located just before Trabablas. I'm not going to speak about my capacities or anything, but I will tell you it is a self-sufficient factory. My product that is the base of everything is maize. So I have my silos. It's automated. It goes into my factories. One factory gives me the base product that I need, which is mealie meal. And then I also get grits and bran and so forth. And then from there, I'm making other products. So that's really who we are. It's 3 factories. It's co-located. And it is all privately funded. Because when we looked at where can we get the money, there was no one was going to give us money for 3 years, right? I thought 3 years, but it's taken us 5 years. But that's the facility. And you understand that we are a new baby. We are sharing here with like-minded people and so forth. But of course, what I did when I was in big corporate, I had what were called welcome plans. So if you overshare as well, then your competitors will be ready for you. So we will share enough so that you understand the journey, but maybe not more than that. So that's us. So when Sekai talked about starting at scale, I thought it was important for you to see that this is the scale that we are at in year 1. Our capacity utilization is still nothing to talk about, but we are building up quite rapidly, and we're quite excited. When you look at our brands that are on the market, I want to comment a little bit about what you said, Sekai. about the fact that there's so many people doing products for mass market and basic products. These are the first 2 products that we put out. So what I believe, and I'm a marketer, that's my background, I'm a marketer, is that people consume what they consume. That's people. People eat food, people bath, people drive cars, people want to look good. Now, whether that thing is going to be a Samsung or an iPhone, or whether it's going to be roller meal or it's going to be super refined ufu, it's the same thing. And whether you then choose to take that and add even more value to the product that, like mealie meal, we are doing the same thing. So what you need is you need a base, and that's where we are. We think we've now covered our base, and then from there we will actually innovate as we go along. But what you need is you need to talk to the base, and I think we've done it. Products have been well received, and it's quite exciting to see them starting to go out into the market. Then the product that my team will bring and share with you is this product, which I can see Marjorie is here from National Foods. It's just, I want to commend National Foods because this category, when you sell this, people say "Tukula mazepi," and I'm like, "Atitengese mazepi," because mazepi is someone else's brand. We sell a product called Zimbanax, so we're quite excited about this product. It's about 3 months old. It's very mass market, but it's a well done product. Well done. We've taken the years that we've had with my team, because I'll talk a little bit about my team when I talk about ecosystem, etc. The years that we've had. So we've researched this. We designed it with people that know how to design packaging. We took it to consumers. We researched the product. We researched the packaging. We've done what we need to do, and we believe that this is going to do well for us. So this is available. It's on the market. And these are the 3 products that we are talking to at the moment. The other products that we have, they don't go into our brands. They go into the supply chain of other bigger corporates, because what we decided we needed to do is we also needed to make some money even now as we are moving along. So we are now in the supply chain of maybe 2 to 3 other corporates, and I haven't asked them if I can divulge who they are, so I won't divulge. But suffice it to say that that's allowed us to operate at scale, because we are going into their supply chains. We've got our laboratory. We test everything rigorously. We've got our statistics, and we've done what we need to do to be able to be a supplier of choice to key manufacturers in Zimbabwe. So here's my story. If we talk about from the C-suite, this was me like 6, 7 years ago. You can see in that photo, it's me and 3 first ladies. I'm very proud of myself. Because I'm C-suite, so this was my job, to represent the company. So this was trade fair, I can't remember what year, but I was taking then First Lady Grace Mugabe, current First Lady Maimuna Ngagwa, and I think hidden behind me is the First Lady of Namibia around our stand. And it was nice. I was in the C-suite. I was hobnobbing. Life was good. We were performing. And I then made the decision. Like I said, it's a whole bunch of pictures. This moved to then be my life. So this has been my life the last 5 years. So it's been a lot about, I've had to construct. I don't have a building that I've got where I don't have the plan or the foundation. Deliberately, I chose this picture because you can see that up, I think Maria Ngambo sticker. So I in the foundation, right? And then there was grass growing there. And I'm sure I was doing my own fundraising, going to the people that eventually gave us more money. And unlike where you've been in the C-suite and people talk to other people, WhatsApp and someone saying $200 yangu, pendi yangu, chi. And you think, who? Because you don't have a PA anymore and a big team. It's you who has to say, all right, cash. And and then you and then you have to get into the field. You've got to understand where's the product going to come from. You've got to visit your suppliers. You've got to see what's what. And then, of course, we did penetrate the supply chains of a few people just to understand best practice. And I got a little bit of that in the last 5 years. So it was intense. It was very different. And it was really so much down to earth. It wasn't any more about, which outfit should I wear as I'm hosting this First Lady. It was now about wake up, put on a tracksuit or jeans, just go and understand what's going on, and pay the man his $200. And this is where we are, today. It's kind of like a full circle. It's a whirlwind moment, but it's so exciting for me to be able to see a vendor and he's selling my product. I didn't influence this. It's so exciting for me to be able to walk in a wholesale and see my product and see stacks of it, right? Because that represents confidence. Because a person is not going to stack, just take your product and put you there if you are not, performing. These are my Fridays and Saturdays. I'm not always dressed in high heels these days. I'll be out with my team. We're talking to people about the product. We're building the product. And then once in a while now, I still get a fancy first lady to come and visit me. So this was Sekai, who's been incredibly, incredibly supportive. When she then came to tour the facility a few weeks ago, she's been threatening for a year. But eventually, I think before she put me on the program, she had to find out, they're really the proof. And yeah, the proof is in the pudding. So this is what my presentation really is about, because we're talking about ecosystems. I wanted to show you the pictures because anyone can talk a good game and say, I did this, I was here, I was there. But it's important for people to also, when they listen, know what the journey has been. So I'll take a little bit of time and just talk around these points, because this is my journey, this is my ecosystem. And I think from there we can have a conversation. So the first point, I think I already touched on it, which is to say numbers don't lie. So a lot of people have questioned me, challenged me, even accused me of being a little bit crazy about why would you put this investment in Zimbabwe? Because there are people inviting us to Botswana. There are people leaving. You can have a much better life, so people say, outside. But the question is, if we abandon Zimbabwe, I wonder who's going to make it work for us, because we are Zimbabwean. We can't all leave. And what I believe, I don't know if I'm an optimist or I am a little bit deluded, but I think every entrepreneur has to ask themselves that question. I believe that Zimbabwe, regardless of its challenges, it will be okay. And the people that are there when it becomes okay, and I think we're in the process, are the people that are going to maximize, right, on the return. So it's not altruistic. I'm very much, what can I say, a home girl. I'm a family person. I love who I am. I love my life here. But that's not what drove me. What also drove me is the promise of making some money. And when you look at it, because there are entrepreneurs, big entrepreneurs in Zimbabwe, Econet was born in Zimbabwe, but there was fights and there was wobbles. But someone had to be a bit deluded and say, I will do this, right? If you look at, I talked about National Foods. If you look at the Insco group, it's amazing, right? But it's people that had to say, we are making a choice. And if you look at the individual companies within there, you can track a journey, you can track, that's pro-brands, that's what, so there's a lot that can happen. And it's not always going to be comfortable, but it can happen. So I wanted to put myself in line, because I don't believe it's very far off. So numbers don't lie, so the numbers convinced me, because I was looking at numbers, I was looking at people making money in Zimbabwe, but investing very little, because they were worried more about the politics. We just want to be here, we want to make money, and let politics be politics. There's no way with great politics, even Kunana America Gwacho. People are making money, but the politics, we've got questions that we can ask every day. So I don't think that's really our big story. We want policy to work for us, but we don't have to engage ourselves with the other things. Fundraising, what I really believe, you're on your own. So I heard Simba, I've listened to Tino, I'm seeing the chairperson, I don't know who else is in the audience who talks about funding. But the type of funding that we were looking for, I don't think I was going to have gotten it from anyone. So that's why I say my story is not a typical story. But the challenge I would give to my colleagues that are in corporate is to say, make sure that when you are in a position of power and you are in a position of influence in corporate, build relationships. Because one day, if you knock on someone's door and they're invested in Nancy, not in Cairns or Unilever or Insco, but you've also built the relationship, that person may say, okay, I'll listen to you for 2 seconds. Another person will just say, I won't, because when you were in that position of influence, you also could not listen to anyone for 2 seconds. You were high and mighty. So build that because you need that. That's the ecosystem. And those, by the way, are the people that will come, because I've had people that have come, I've been humbled, in fact, by my ecosystem. Because I've had people that I've worked with that have come, and there's a person who said, you're setting up a lab, I'm coming to spec out your lab, this is what you need, XYZ. How much am I paying you? What you like? Or I don't even care, Nancy, take me to lunch, because the relationship exists. When you were my boss, when my husband died, when this happened, you were not just a CEO, you were a person to person. So I'm now coming person to person, and there's debts that are paid. So make sure that you build that, because for me, in terms of getting people to invest in my dream, it was those relationships that I had. That's the ecosystem. And by the way, getting private investors is not like something that we should shrink at. I think, yes, our financial system needs to do better, but I also think that even if you read about, be it Jeff Bezos, be it whoever, they'll tell you, my dad did this, my first thing was so-and-so putting X amount of money. So it's okay, we should cultivate that. And for us, when we then make money, we also should be able to say, I can put X amount, maybe through Tino, maybe through someone, if you don't think you've got the lens, but let's also learn to then invest in others. Networks matter the most. I think I've just highlighted that. I think the 2 points are married. Networks matter, they matter, they matter, they matter. So if there's one thing I'm protective of, it's my phone. Because I've always said, if I'm in a corner and I've got my phone and my brain and my voice, I think I'll come out of that corner in 48 hours, because someone will answer me and someone will say something, and it'll be someone who will have something to say. Brands and quality are everything. Brands and quality are everything. So even if we're talking mass market, right? The mass market guy might actually be the more discerning guy. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that your consumer and your customer are part of your ecosystem. Because if you've got a good quality product, I can assure you, you will get there and you'll get space somewhere, and there's someone who's going to pay a little bit of attention to you. So brands and quality matter. And we've spent a lot of time, we've spent a lot of money that we don't have. I think I still owe a couple of people money, but we've really put time into our brands and into the quality of our product. And I really believe that the consumer is going to reward us. The regulatory environment and service provision in Zimbabwe is hostile. Hostile. Yeah, hostile. So I found that typically on a Thursday afternoon or a Friday, that's when a regulator will turn up and say, "Oh, mne factory." And you probably have planned that on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. That's when you're going to run, because that's when you probably will have ZESA, because power is an issue. But that regulator will come, and it's almost like they want to just trip you up, and you're saying, "No, please allow me to." So you really have to make sure that you know the regulations. You've got to know the people, and these people have to become your friends. But I would also say regulators and service providers, you are not at war, in particular with startups and with people just trying to do what they're trying to do. I think listen to us a little bit more, make your regulations more accessible, and let's try to do what we say we are doing, because there's a lot of talk, I think, about ease of doing business. I think last month, Cabinet, passed a few new regulations, and they took down a few fees and so forth, but we're still in quite a hostile environment, and it's expensive. And you can find in one day you wake up and you're talking to 3 ministries, 2 regulators who are talking about the finances, health. You're just talking to so many people. It's so hostile, and I wish it could just be put into one place, which says, if you're manufacturing food, talk here and do this, and then it makes your life easier, because once you've done it, then you can move on. One-stop shop, as they would say, for people coming to invest in Zimbabwe. And local investment is investment. That's the other thing that I would want regulators and policymakers to acknowledge, because the real investors in Zimbabwe, I think, are people who have stayed when things have been up and down. Yeah, I've got props, because I thought I needed to remind us. Excuse me while I dig in my bag. I thought I needed to remind us that there are people who have chosen to stay and to stay and to stay and to stay. And they need to be given a little bit of respect, right? And a few concessions, because, Maimtasa, I give you today $100 million. Panama company who have been here investing and opening factories, even when this currency was working or not working. But then someone will come today when it's a little bit better and say, I've come, 5 million, and then we will jump around and say, here's your concession. You don't have to pay this, you can do this, you can do that. What about us? And that investment that you saw there, these are US dollars. Apana munagao is on it, I'm putting up that plant or whatever, and I paid them in any other currency. So we are investing the same currency, and I think we need to just consider that local investors are also investors. Teams are invaluable. That's a big part of the ecosystem. So I deliberately overinvested early on. So I have people that have worked like in companies that it's a who's who, so I'm not going to talk about it, because maybe like a Pindom organization, and you're looking for people and they listened to my story and they came to me. But teams are invaluable, because if you've got good people, that's a fantastic ecosystem. And each person comes in the ecosystem. You're good when you say, I'm stuck here. He will say, oh, I know who to phone if it's HR, maybe at NASA. And they're going to accommodate us. Another person will say, oh, I know who to talk to, at Zimra. And they will come and tell us exactly what we need to do if we were late, if we were doing X, Y, Z. So that is so invaluable, the team and invest in teams. That's the biggest part of your ecosystem probably, because when you're not there, if you're an entrepreneur, that's the person that you need to be there, like safeguarding your investment, your asset, your brand, and that's the person who'll take you out. And the last point I had on my reflections is to say, I think in terms of Zimbabwe, why I brought this money is because I was asking myself a question when I put this point down, to say foreign suppliers are going to surprise you. So for me, my biggest surprise has been people from South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, who've come and extended credit to me. They've sat and they said, okay, Nancy, what's your story? Can we see this? Who's the person who's safeguarding this? What about your finance guy? What about your management accounts? Okay, we can talk to you about 30 days, or 15 days. Then we'll talk about X amount of time. My Zimbabwean guys will be like COD. That's COD. So I also think that there are people that have understood that there's something happening in Zimbabwe, but we may be late to the party. We may be very, very late to the party, because if you have a person who's walked with you when your revenue is $20,000, one day when your revenue is $2 million, you probably prefer to work with that person. But then we as Zimbabweans will be coming, because now it makes sense, we'll be knocking at that door. So for me, my biggest supporters have actually been my foreign suppliers. My local suppliers, Iondo and Kutsagamari, and they don't even want it through the bank. They're like, I'll take a downtown, no cash, So it just makes life so hostile. But when I look at the fact that we have had my $100 million notes, and they were just sitting around like in a box. Like one day we went into an unused bedroom in my mom's house. And we said, what's this? It's money. But it's money that someone worked for, but one day, and it is there. So we've been scarred and we've been traumatized. We now need a little bit of intentionality, though, to say as we move forward, and certainly if we're talking in US dollars, what is it that we're talking about, and what is our risk appetite? So I think this has been my journey. I wanted to highlight my own journey. Sekai really wanted us to have a conversation about starting at scale. And the answer that I have when people ask me why I decided to start at scale is because the numbers don't lie. Even now, the numbers are not disappointing me. Not having got your market share where you want to get does not mean that there's not an opportunity. I think sometimes we confuse the two. It just means good when you market share, find those strategies, grow your volume, price better, do what you need to do. But the reality is that there is money moving in Zimbabwe. There are aspirational people in Zimbabwe. There are people that want to eat well, that want to dress well, that want to spend in Zimbabwe. And someone has to answer that call. It can't all be about, trucks and trucks and buses coming from South Africa or wherever. So thank you for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. That is my presentation. The company is called Grobby Best Foods. And when you consume our products, you'll really enjoy. I really wanted you guys to have consumed by the time I got to here, because we believe there's happiness in every single bite that we put out into the market. So thank you very much.